Hello, I'm Steel and welcome back to another episode on the Brass mod pack, and I've got quite a bit to cover today. So the first thing I want to mention is that I've found out that there is an official server for the Brass mod pack, and so what I wanted to ask you guys right off the bat is, should I continue with this single player series or should I migrate to the official Brass server? The issue with migrating is that of course I would have to go through all the progression that I've already gone through already, and all these builds would be like you wouldn't see them again, incomplete stuff wouldn't be completed and things. I'm not sure how that would go as well, because with the early game I tend to lose interest quickly, so there's a decent chance that that would mean that videos stop going, whereas otherwise I could continue in single player, but of course it's in single player, so there's no real interactions with other players, no other bases to explore, no trading or anything possible. So it's entirely up to you, but it would be really good if you could mention that in the comments so that I know which one to do. Next, you'll notice that I look a little bit different in terms of the kit that I've got, and that's because I've been working with the immersive engineering mod to get myself a full set of tools. See, in the last episode I did mention that biodiesel can be used to make cool tools, and those are the ones that are clogging my inventory right now. First, those lovely earmuffs on my head, they're rather beautiful, aren't they? They just mean that when I'm recording and stuff I don't hear that loud noise of the diesel generators whenever I'm near the power plant, so that'll be nicer for you guys as well. Next, the armor. This is Faraday armor, and what this means is that it protects me from electric shocks, so I can run through as many high voltage wires as I want and there will be no negative consequences. The next thing is that this device I'm holding in my hands is a chem thrower, loaded with gasoline, so based on the name I'm sure you can figure out what it does. It throws chemicals. Look at that, incredible. But like, it's not that dangerous. I can just make my enemies slightly greasy and smell strong. That's not a problem. But watch this. Yeah. So that's what this thing is useful for. Next comes the buzzsaw, which is fairly self-explanatory. It chops down whole trees in a single chop. It's very useful, very good. Have a look at this. My life is just so much easier. It's brilliant. So that's the buzzsaw. Next, we've got the mining drill, which mines a 3x3 area and works as both an axe, both as a shovel and a pickaxe, but in a 3x3 area, which is excellent. And finally, we have the railgun. I don't have any ammo for it. There we go. So this thing is a very powerful, long-ranged weapon that fires metal beams and stuff over a long distance in pretty much a straight line. So if I click the middle button, I can zoom in and out. It's got this scope like this. And I'll show you what it's like when it fires. Let's just hit right about there. So we hold in, lovely noise, and then when we let go, it fires. Look at that. So it fires. I've loaded it with steel rods, but you can use all sorts of other things. The other thing is that the way these things look is actually different from how they normally would, and that's because I've put on, first of all, I've put on upgrades. So they just, various different modules that increase different things. So for example, on the mining drill, I've got one that increases the fuel capacity, some that increase the speed and damage, and one that increases something else. One that means the drill head doesn't take as much damage. But the other thing I've got on these is things called shaders, which are these little items here, and they basically recolor it. So here's what my railgun looks like with the Sutherland shader on, and that's it without. Still pretty cool, admittedly, but not as cool if you ask me. And so on that one I've got the scope upgrade, which allows me to zoom in, and the heat sinks, which decrease the charge time. Those use a bit of Constantan. Now, the next thing I want to cover. So, at the end of last episode, well, first of all, last episode we built our oil refinery, yeah? So I'm going to go over there and show you some of the progress I've made on that oil production facility, which is a very cool area. First of all, oh yeah, I've also completely overhauled my transformer yard now, so we've got current transformers so we can see the power usage of everything. Hello, that's fine. We can see the power usage, we've got controls for everything, and we've got capacitor banks here, which is very convenient. So, and these fences were quite pricey because they used a lot of steel. Anyway, first of all, we've got these things, which are flare stacks. So they burn off extra lubricant that I don't need. So if I flick the lever, they will start burning it off. Like that. Looks pretty cool, I reckon. What's of note is that these towers are completely cosmetic. Don't need them at all. The actual flare stacks themselves are just those things right at the top that take up like 2 blocks of space. I could have made this a lot easier than I did. Next, we've got this thing. So the other thing is that in the last episode I mentioned we're going to get a lot of gasoline and I need to find a use for it. This is a gasoline power generator, and the build is actually completely overkill, very cosmetic again. The actual mechanics for this thing, they could take up a very small area, about this size, right? Just if I filled this with solid blocks, that would be about as large as all the mechanical parts in this needed to be. And yet we've got this massive construction, but it looks very cool. We've got like the gasoline generators inside. We've got all these pipelines and stuff to make it look functional. We've got a flywheel on the back and everything. It just looks really awesome. I really like how this has come together. And actually, this was a bit of a nightmare to produce because the first time I tried making it, I set it up wrong, and the gasoline generators produced so much power that they burnt through my wires, like right through the power grid, disconnected all my lights and everything because they produced too much electricity. But next, there's a bit of a problem. You may have noticed only one pump jack is running. Why is that, you ask? Is there something wrong with the pipes? That's what I thought at first. Maybe I need to break and replace the multi-blocks. No. At the end of last episode, I mentioned that the fossil fuels are finite and that eventually our oil deposit would run out. But I said that that wouldn't happen for ages because it had a lot of oil in there. Well, it ran out. So, here we are. Only this one can run, only one pump jack at a time, only extracting 6 millibuckets per tick of trace oil, which is not enough to run my diesel generators. I have them disconnected at the moment, and I'm just using one singular biodiesel generator. So what I have done, though, is I've gone around taking core samples and stuff, and I've found a few more oil deposits. And so what I plan to do is that in this city, over on this side, I simply won't expand the city buildings itself, rather I'll have mining facilities, oil drills and everything. This will eventually be a barren wasteland out in this direction. It's just high voltage lines and abandoned pump jacks and stuff as I slowly wear out all my oil production. And finally, the next big thing that I've been working on is that I've cleared this whole area. I'm not sure if you remember, but last episode, that hill stopped about here. And now I've cleared it all the way back there. What for, you ask? What's going on over here? Well, this is just the paths and the roads themselves extended. So these will turn green and match up with that eventually. But this here is where I'm going to build a very fancy ore processing facility, which I'll put some screenshots of the test build I did on screen right now. So, with all that said and done, the next thing I'm going to move on to is I'm actually going to start constructing pump jacks and stuff. And what I plan to do is I want to have some gravel and things like... I want to have them on piles of greyish ground, greyish gravel, terraform a bit around the pump jacks themselves so it looks cool. And then I'm not sure, I might have just a pipeline, like a centralised pipeline, or I might build an oil train, but I would have to do some testing to see how the fluid transporting actually works for that. So, oh yeah, the other thing of note is that the replay mod's been updated, so I will be able to put fancy third-person time-lapses, so I'll put some of those in this video, no doubt. Right, well this isn't actually the game, as you can see, but what I want to ask you guys is that I've found out that Pollution of the Realms, so that's the mod that adds pollution. It means that, so things like my furnaces, my diesel generators and everything will actually output carbon into the air, which has negative consequences, so I have to, like, pump it away, deal with it, ventilate it, scrub the air if necessary with, filters and everything. And my question is, do you guys want me to add it? So, at the moment, the Brass mod pack does include the Advanced Chimneys mod, but it doesn't include the pollution part, so the Advanced Chimneys are largely just cosmetic. So what I want to ask is, would you prefer if I actually installed this mod so that it is useful to have the Advanced Chimneys? The issue with that is I'd probably have to dedicate an episode to retrofitting all my current machinery, because my factories and stuff all have roofs over them, so they're going to capture any pollution that I get, which is, of course, a problem, because if you stand under it, you get, like, mining fatigue and hunger and start taking damage if it's polluted enough. So this here is the oil chunk area, so I've just dug out this little pit to sort of make it look like the pump jacks have been like dug into the ground or whatever, so that it's kind of dry and everything. So I'm just going to have a couple of pump jacks here and a fluid tank, but I have decided that actually, like, building a train is just not really worth my time, because the thing with trains is that they're like a lot of work to set up, so they're only really worth it if like you're doing it over really long distances where a pipeline would be like prohibitively expensive. But over a short distance like this, and just that chunk over there in the corner with the electron block that you can see, it's just not really worth the effort. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a couple of pump jacks and a pipeline, so I'll jump into a third-person time-lapse of that in a moment. But right now it seems that my game is frozen, so yay. Alright, so I had planned to have like a time-lapse of me constructing the oil pipeline, and here we are in the replay recording, and as you can see, it hasn't quite worked out properly. So the reason for that is that the version of replay I'm using is an unofficial Forge version, because the official replay mod is not available for Forge, only Fabric. And so the person who makes the Forge one has said that they will not be fixing any bugs. And we have found a big one. Look at this. This is like our diesel generators have become weird fragments of the arc furnace. Our wind, everything's waterlogged for some reason. It's just absolutely bizarre. Unfortunately, I will not be providing any time lapse of me constructing a new oil pipeline today. But hey, look, it's me, with, for some reason, a metal press mold floating above my head. I do believe that that's actually supposed to be my capacitor backpack, but of course, everything's kinda scuffed. Well, it's a bit of a shame about the replay mod not working, but I have gotten a bunch of stuff completed. So I've removed the old pump jack that was here because it's kinda unnecessary, and what I've actually done is just added in more pump jacks and a pipeline here. So this just goes underground and comes out of the ground. Where does it come out of the ground? Right there, look at that. So that's where that one comes, and it just goes into there, and so we're all good. And at the moment, I actually think that my power plant's not even running, because, yeah, this whole thing's not running because we've got more diesel than we need for the first time in a long while. Because those oil wells over there, like, those ones over there both have, like, twice as much as the one that was right there, which is super duper convenient. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is actually start constructing that ore processing steel mill facility thing that we had the plans to make today. I'm not sure if I showed this bit at the start earlier, probably already have, but yeah, oops, that's not ideal, is that there's this whole area cleared out, so this is the part where I want to actually build the factory thing. So I'm going to get cracking on that. I've already gathered up a bunch of bricks and everything, so that should be started any moment now, and I will kind of walk you through the build on this one, considering that I can't do a replay. So yeah, also, by the way, if any of you people know of a mod that will allow me to make third-person time-lapse that's compatible with Forge 1.16, please, I beg of you, tell me what it is, because that will just elevate my videos a little bit more, just that bit more that I really need. So I'll get started. Well, considering that the replay mod isn't really working, I've decided that I'll kind of show you through my build process in the creative world that I've done. I actually started with this build. I didn't want reference from a real life one. I was trying and build one completely from scratch. So I started off just putting together a block palette. Just these were going to be the kind of blocks I was planning to use. So I was planning to have the main body out of these two things, just alternating between those two for different parts of it. The roof out of these sorts of coloured blocks, and then the frames and everything out of these sorts of blocks. And so you can sort of see, I did some experimental builds there, and it went okay. Don't look great, but they don't look bad. Eventually I kind of realised that I wasn't getting anywhere with this, so I did search for images online, and I found one of the factory that I'll show on screen at the moment, which is apparently actually a factory converted into a winery. So then I started trying to replicate it here in creative mode in Minecraft. And at first, I did try to do it completely out of bricks. I just used a couple of variants of bricks like this. The issue with that is that it looked very monotonous. It was quite boring, quite bland feeling. Kind of like this, It's got 3D variation, but it doesn't have enough block variation to really catch the eye. And that's the thing with copying builds from real life into Minecraft, is that you can't do them block for block, because in real life you can get a lot more detail on there, so building something entirely out of brick is acceptable. In Minecraft you can't really do that, so if you build it entirely out of brick, it'll be a bland looking monolith. So here what I've done is I've actually edited a lot of the things, so I've kept the general shape of things, but I've edited it. So the first thing I did was I built this facade. Kind of debated on whether or not to add these yellow terracotta, but I decided that was a really good idea. Added these windows just framed nicely so that they look a bit more fancy, a bit more factory-ish. Added the roof, and these steel supports, which I reckon look quite cool holding up the edge of the roof. And then I just started extending it backwards to try and figure out how exactly that would work. So the walls on the side here, I've got these panels in there, but there's no windows out, which means we'll be able to construct factories next door and it won't look weird having windows just looking directly onto a wall. And then of course we've got this, and actually I need to test something. Does a brazier create the smoke particles that I want? Doesn't look like it. That's one issue with the brass mod pack, is that most things do not, campfires don't create the smoke particles like you would think they would, like they normally do, which is quite annoying if you ask me, because I really rely on those smoke particles. So instead you just have to use these chimney things from the Engineer's Decor mod, which is rude. But anyway, so that's kind of the build that I'm planning to construct in survival, and I've actually already gotten started, but guiding you through it in survival is going to be quite boring without the replay mod, so I just thought I'd show you through the actual process I used to come up with it. Alrighty, so I've constructed the front of the of that building that I planned to make. Yep, everything's completed and everything. I just haven't done the back. I've got a bit of a concrete floor in here, also incomplete, but I've started on the pillars for the sides and everything, which is pretty cool. It's kind of got some of these bricks here down the side because I didn't know what to do with space. Like, if anyone has any better suggestions, please let me know, because this is really haphazard and bad looking, but it's just the only thing I could think of. I've also just added these as a better way for organising the wires in this transformer yard later, so I'll be able to connect everything up to those and have it going out across the place. But anyway, what I plan to do, so as I've said, I want this to be an ore processing facility. So what I want is I want to have like an arc furnace at the back here. Maybe I'll put the arc furnace more in the middle here, which will be where everything gets smelted. So I'll have ores coming in, then I'll have crushing systems along here, washing. Then it will go into the arc furnace, then anything smeltable will go into the arc furnace, and then I'll have storage at the back. Where are the ores going to come in though, you ask? So what I plan is that I actually want to have a sort of miniature train station, a proper train station along the side here. So I want to have an excavator mining hopefully iron and various other ores and stuff, and then that will get delivered by train down the side here. The train will stop, unload everything into the factory where it'll get delivered by conveyors into the crushers and everything, and then the train will loop back around, possibly might make a tunnel for it through the mountain, and the train will loop back around to where I got it from. And so what I was hoping to find was a ore vein with both iron and coal in it so that I could do steel production in there. But unfortunately the only vein like that I've managed to find is directly like in the power station, and I want to build the excavator somewhere over here. I'm also planning to build a rail yard over here for to be my solution to trains in general, where I construct them and everything. Because another idea I had was that I could put rails directly underneath this road and then have like old-fashioned style trams running along this road, just in a minecart that's underneath, hidden, so that would look really, really cool. But again, I'm going to need a rail yard for that. So depending on the ore veins I find, either we're going to have mining over there and rail yard here, or more likely the rail yard in this area here and then the mining a bit further that way up near where I've excavated that mountain. The other thing I need to do is, of course, build a retaining wall on that mountain to hold it back, make it look a bit better. Yeah, so that's what I plan to do next. I don't really plan to extend the city any further that way because this mountain is just a hassle to excavate, but I might extend it around here maybe. Might extend it further back that way as well. Definitely going to do that sooner or later. So yeah. Alright, so I actually decided to do a favour for my future self, and being the forward-thinking person that I am, I actually planned out the way I'm going to assemble the machinery in that factory I've built. So here you can kind of see I've just got the footprint of the factory, so this is where the front door would be. And so when you walk in, you'll get this pretty cool view of like conveyor belts and everything all around you, and the arc furnace right at the back. But let me walk you through how this system actually works. So what will happen, this might not be exactly where the rail goes, but this will be the height that the item extractors will be. So the train will roll up alongside here, and it will stop automatically for these things, which are portable storage interfaces, and they basically allow me to load and unload items off of a moving minecart contraption, so I'll be able to take things off of the train like that. So then each of these will connect to a carriage and unload it through these tunnels inside the building. So then in here they actually just go through all these crates. It's just like a storage silo. I could also use double chests here. Basically it'll just work its way all the way down to the bottom, and that means we can build up a buffer so the train can unload a whole lot of stuff all at once. And that doesn't mean it has to get all processed at once. In fact, it'll probably take so long to process that by the time we're done, the next train will be rolling around, which is exactly what we want. So anyway, once that's done, the items will then come out onto this blue conveyor belt. The way I've marked things is that the blue conveyor belts are ones that carry items, and the yellow ones are used for driving stuff, so they're the ones that just connect the rotation together. So the items will come out, and we've just got 3 of those in a row, and they'll go across, go through into this thing, then this hopper will take it out of this and put it into that chute there, which will drop them right into the crusher. So the crusher will grind up the ores into the crushed ore variants, and then from each crusher, all of those will just slide along here, and then they'll run through our washing system, and it's a similar sort of deal. So we've just got a thing, if it can be washed, it won't pass through. If it's able to be washed, it will not be passing through this tunnel, which means it'll just sit on that conveyor belt, and then it'll get washed, and of course you can't wash it a second time, so then it will pass through. And then we've set things up so that washed ores, hello, I'm getting a lag spike. Washed ores come out of this side, and nuggets come out of this side. So the nuggets then go into this basin here, where we've just got a really fast mechanical press, which will stamp them into ingots. And then over here we've got an arc furnace, which is the big fancy furnace. Well, I can't remember what I said I was going to do, but what I've actually done is, first of all, I've built a retaining wall all along this mountain, which I did mention I wanted to do, which is pretty cool. I've also started hello, we've got a bit of a lag spike. So as you can see, the road just kind of runs clean into this retaining wall. I plan to build a proper tunnel going through it eventually. It's a little annoying that this pillar's not lined up with the center, but that's alright. But the other thing that I've started doing is actually laying the railway tracks for the freight line. So what's going to happen is that this part here will be the main line, so it will come straight past here, and this will be where the train stations are, so the train will roll past on these tracks, and then it'll loop around out that way. I'll show you that in a moment. But also I'm going to have like a track merger here. You can sort of see how that's going to look from the surface. The rails themselves will actually be directly underneath. Like if this is the surface, the rail pieces will be placed on this block, and then we'll use the create mod to make the trains, which should look really, really cool. But over here is, in this area, which I'm going to clear, is where I want to have the rail yards, where I actually assemble and hold the carriages and everything. So that's why it's going to be able to like merge on, oops, hello, we're stuck. It's going to merge on to this main track here, so that's why the turn's quite sharp, is that it'll be turning slowly. But then, so like the train will actually head down that way, like if this is the direction the train will face, and then it will come from over here, where I have surveyed a huge area of land, as you can see, with a lot of core samples. Got a lot of samples containing beryl, which I believe has prismarine and emeralds in it, but also I did find plenty of coal and laterite and cassiterite and everything else. So we've basically got all the iron, copper, bauxite, nickel, that's all fine. And so I've just sort of marked out the path of where the rail's going to be in dirt here. Hello friend, where's my rail gun? Oh. Fun times. So I haven't actually completed the path of the track. Let me pull up journey map. My game's lagging a little bit. But you can sort of see it goes to about there and there. And what I plan to have is I plan to have it go a bit diagonal through there and loop around and come back through here. And then of course, as we expand our city out this way and possibly that way, we can just change the direction of the rail, you know, make it loop around through there or something. As long as it passes through this station and this alley of miners and stuff, we're all good. Hello, Future Steel here. It's actually about 3 months since the recording you saw there, basically because I've gotten really, really busy. I'm actually in editing at the moment, and I do have a bit more footage, but I've gone, actually, this episode's already about 20 minutes long, so I think I'm going to cut it there. However, the fact that I've already got a fair bit of recording done means that the next one won't take as long to come out as this one has, hopefully. But if you look around behind me a bit, you can sort of see some of the progress that I've made that you'll be seeing, hopefully in an episode coming out soon. Sorry for this one being wildly delayed and not a whole lot getting done in it. Life has just gotten in the way. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.